Welcome, everybody, to the second annual Canadian Women in Baseball. Her Time is Now panel. We had such a good time doing it last year. We had to run it a second time, this time with a whole new set of experts who are kind enough to join us this evening. So before we get started, I do want to acknowledge that the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame is located on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples. This area is within the boundaries covered by Treaty 29, known as the Huron Tract Purchase, and is protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, many Indigenous peoples continue to call this land home and act as its stewards, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on this territory. I'll be one of your co-hosts this evening. My name is Lindsay. I'm the Care of Collections and Visitor Engagement Supervisor here at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. And I'm thrilled to be joined by my co-host this evening, Steph. Over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Lindsay. This is going to be a fantastic night celebrating Canadian women in baseball. What's better than that? Just a few housekeeping things that we want to go over and discuss. We just ask that you kindly mute your mics tonight. That way we can give everyone, all of our beautiful panelists, the floor uninterrupted. Please feel free to chat with us and use the Q&A option to ask as many questions as you can. And we promise we're going to try our best to get back to every one of you. And we'll take questions toward the end as well. We are also joined by a special guest, visual artist Sam Woj, who will be doing some fun giveaways later on in our call tonight. And the style of this evening is roundtable panelists. So we're going to be asking all of our wonderful panelists a bunch of different questions, and feel free to cheer on, to use your emojis, to enter the chat, and let's really make this a great event. And if you want to rewatch or share tonight's stream, we will make it available on the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame's YouTube channel in the coming days. Thanks again for having me, and let's get this night going.
Wonderful. So firstly, we're going to introduce Candy McEwen, who is representing the board of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame this evening to introduce our special guests.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'll be introducing some very special guests to you. If you'd like to learn more about them, we have their extended bios on our website. Tonight, we are joined by Andrea Goldstein, who is in her 5th season as Vice President of Communications with the Toronto Blue Jays, where she oversees strategic communications, media relations, and publicity for all areas of the organization. Elizabeth Benn has worked in numerous roles in baseball operations since 2017, including as Director of Major League Operations for the New York Mets, where she became the organization's highest-ranking woman in baseball operations in the organization's history. Tosha Hains has accomplished numerous milestones and firsts since she joined the Baseball Canada National Umpire Program in 1998. When not on the dime a dozen umpire, Tosha is also a Baseball Canada Master Course Conductor and Umpire Supervisor. Sena Catterall plays center field with Baseball Canada's women's national team, where she was honored as the 2024 MVP. She also completed her undergraduate degree in chemical engineering while playing Division I hockey and is now pursuing an MBA. I honestly have goosebumps introducing you all. That's very exciting. Thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight.
Thanks so much, Candy. We're going to jump right into our very first question. So the first question of the evening is, tell us a bit about how you got to where you are today and who inspired you to pursue baseball. We're going to start it off with Andrea.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. Baseball is a generational sport. The love of the game is passed down from generation to generation. And my love of the game came from my parents. They had seasons tickets since 1977 when the Toronto was awarded a franchise. And my parents had seasons tickets behind the Blue Jays dugout. And they would take me to games all the time. And we'd go early and we would watch the players warm up. And as the players were coming back into the dugout before the game began, I would always stand up in my seat and motion like this for the players to throw me a ball. And I had a very large baseball collection growing up, and going to the baseball games was the best part of my childhood. I just loved it so much. And fast forward 15 years, I became a sports reporter. And part of my job was to go to Blue Jays games and report on Blue Jays games. And I would go to the press box. There was a lovely man there named Howard Starkman. He was the head of communications for the Blue Jays, and he gave me my press passes to cover the games. And I felt like a fish out of water. I was so young. I didn't know what I was doing. And he was so kind to me. I never forgot how kind he was, showed me the ropes, taught me what to do. My first game there, Kelly Gruber hit a home run, and I started cheering. And he came over very quietly and whispered in my ear, "Andrea, there's no cheering in the press box." And I loved his job. I loved what he did. And that's why I wanted to get into sports PR. So I got a job. I left reporting. I got a job at a PR agency doing PR for Molson and Nike. I then went in-house at TSN on their communications team. Loved it there. Stayed there for 7 years. And then I did the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. After that, I moved on to head up communications for the media assets owned by Rogers, so Sportsnet and City TV. And 4 years ago, led me here to my dream job. And I'm actually in Howie Starkman's former role after he retired. And I'm now heading into my 5th season, and so grateful and so thankful to be in this wonderful organization surrounded by a great team on the field, but a great team off the field as well.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. We are just so happy to have you here. That's awesome. You're so inspiring. Next up, Liz.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me tonight. This is awesome to be with everybody here and, see people like Sena before who I've known for many years now through my work in baseball. But I would say that my love of baseball came from my mom, who's was a Yankee fan growing up. And so she kind of raised us as baseball fans while my dad was very supportive of the baseball, but didn't need to watch a game himself. But my brother played baseball growing up, and I was 4 years younger, and so I always wanted to play with him. And so that led me into a path of being able to play. So I played in the High Park Little League system and then High Park Bantam and all of that. And then after an injury, I was able to rehab and then join Team Ontario and played in the Canadian Baseball Championship for 2 years before moving to New York for a master's degree. And at that point, I still didn't know that working in baseball was an option for me. I think that that's a difference I've seen between Canada and the US is that working in sports is much more of a conversation in earlier years in the US than it is in Canada. But through a few different opportunities there, just coaching, mostly high school and middle school, both baseball and softball, and some volunteer work that I did at the Blue Jays when I was still in Toronto, I got an internship in youth programs at the commissioner's office. And I was really lucky that while I was there, some people in other departments found out about my background and some of the things I did. For example, presenting a paper about women in baseball at the American Hall of Fame at a conference that they had at one point. So my old boss, Paul Mifsud, who's the head baseball operations lawyer at the commissioner's office, he found out about me and got me into an internship in his department. And then through him and Dane Halem, the deputy commissioner, they turned that into a full-time job. And they made sure that I was always getting different opportunities to learn and grow different areas. And I met amazing people like Katie Pothier, who was the general counsel for several teams, Jean Afterman, who is just an absolute legend in baseball. She's been the assistant general manager of the Yankees since I think 2001. Meet these people, become friends with them, and then see their paths and see how I could fit in with that. So I had the opportunity to leave MLB and join the Mets in 2022 and spend 3 years there. And then since there, explore different areas in baseball and sports. And again, just kind of keep taking inspiration from the different people around me, whether male or female, and see their paths and see how that could be a reality for myself too.
Thank you so much for sharing. It sounds like for both of you, it was something that you loved from a young age, and you've just carried it through. And that's what baseball is all about. Thank you so much, Liz. Tosha, you're up.
Hi, thanks for having me. Honored to be on this panel with such great women. And so what inspired me and how I started was I played fastball for, a number of years. And when I became older teenager, it was at the point where, I had to travel too much to play. I lived in a small town, and one of the things that bothered me as a player was the umpires that we were getting for our games weren't very good. It was always the people that had the least amount of experience, or they were at the end of their career. Nobody wanted to umpire the women's fastball or the girls' fastballs, and I literally said to myself, I can do better than this. And so I went and I took the test and I started umpiring. And I had very good support from my hometown. It was Tilsonburg Umpires Association, that were very supportive of a female umpire, which, it was, there was only a couple of us at the end. We were doing fastball. And then they asked me if I wanted to umpire baseball. And I'm like, sure. I was the only one umpiring. The other two women just umpired, fastball or slow pitch. And so I said yes. And then I started umpiring some more, and I really liked it and stopped playing and started umpiring all the time. And went to umpire school twice. And I, just fell in love with the game even more. And the fact that when I went to umpire school, I thought I knew everything. Like, oh, I know I played for years. I've umpired for like 4 or 5 years now. I know this. And then called home that night and said, I don't know anything about baseball, and learned so much when I was there for the 5 week school. And just, like I said, fell in love with the game, came back and knew I had to, if I wanted to keep growing as an umpire, I needed to start umpiring outside of my small town. And so I started umpiring in London and became the only woman there at the time umpiring baseball. And I actually didn't meet Lisa until a few years later, and when we were both in the national program. So it was a long time being the only female. Like, I was the only female at the umpire school both years. Like, I had 88 men and me. And then the next time I went 2 years later, it was 120 and me. So, so you had to love the game. And back then it was like, you just took inspiration and from the mentors that you got at the school or in your association. And I was very fortunate that there was always one or two people in the association that kind of took me under their wing. And in my small town, it was my best friend's dad. He was the one that helped me out, and one of the other umpires there were really good to me, and I appreciate that. Stan Rextis and Terry Peacock were very good to me when I started out. And then in London, I had Jim Cressman and a few others that were umpiring there at the time. Rob Companion, Rob Stevenson. Like, nobody made me feel like I wasn't one of them. And so it was good. And so now it's, being able to pass that along to upcoming female umpires and mentor them is where I get my inspiration now.
You, Tosha, for blazing a path and for being one of the only ones who did that in your area. It's inspiring. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Next up, last but not least for this question, Sena.
Yeah, I just again, like everyone said, just super stoked to be here. I think super honored, honestly, to be amongst great women like these. But basically, I wanted to do some summer sport. Started off playing soccer and really just didn't like it. Then I kind of got talking with my dad, and he put me into baseball and kind of found my love for that there. And then I remember watching the Blue Jays, watching outfielders like Davis and Pilar, and thinking, man, like that's what I want to do. I want to make those big plays. I want to do that. And so that kind of even grew my love even more, and just kind of that having that strive for being good and being great. And then growing up, I didn't really know much about women's baseball. Played with boys team up until I was 16, and then I joined the provincial team with Team Quebec, and then that's when I started learning a lot more about women's baseball in Canada, And then that's when I learned about players like Kate Soda and Ashley Stevenson, who are these huge trailblazers in Canadian baseball, and thinking, man, I want to be like them. Like I want to have that great name associated with myself. And so it was just I was never really that good. Um I never really had like much talent up until joining the women, and then it kind of skyrocketed. I just worked hard, um never being satisfied with being good enough, or even being like average, or even being good enough. Like it just wasn't enough for me. So that kind of continued my strive for it. And then in 2019 I made Team Canada, and then I went to an MLB grit, one of the first ones, and that's where I met Liz, and kind of seeing like there's more. There's not just team, it doesn't end at just Team Quebec, it doesn't end just with Team Canada. There's so much more opportunity. And then finally got a taste of the World Cup in 2023 with our qualifier in Thunder Bay. And I was like thinking, man, like, can't get better than this. And then next year, 2024 World Cup, and it was even better. And so just keep striving for that, kind of that feeling of excitement and playing. It's I mean, I get it in hockey, but it's not the same. It's a completely different sport, and it's just awesome. I just love it. So yeah.
Thank you so, so much. It is so awesome hearing your journey and how you kept getting better and better and that you wouldn't stop. And I don't think you ever will, it sounds like, which is inspiring for all of us and all the young women and everyone watching. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, we're on to our next question now. Tosha, I'm going to start with you on this one. So what is one thing that you had to overcome to achieve the success that you've had in your career?
Oh, that's a hard question because there was a lot of things at first, right? Just being the only woman a lot of times, and there were a few people that didn't want to umpire, or you'd show up to the park and they'd be like, "Oh, we've never had a woman umpire before." Well, now you do, and guess what? I'm pretty good. So that was one of the things that we had to overcome, just trying not to stand out, because the more you stood out, the harder it made it to succeed. So you tried to blend in as much as possible, and it's really refreshing now that those our differences are celebrated, and we get to stand out and say, yeah, I'm a female umpire, not just an umpire anymore. And so that's one of the things that was tough about overcoming. I mentioned that I went to umpire school. The second time I went to umpire school, in my debrief after, I asked them, they told me how I did, and it was kind of unsettling, but also made me feel good, because they said, well, it wasn't unanimous because it had to be unanimous for you to go through to the MLB tryout at that time, and it wasn't unanimous because they didn't see me making it all the way. And I looked at the gentleman that they did send through, and I'm thinking, did you see all of them making it all the way? And so I just found it kind of interesting that they wouldn't put me through because they didn't see me making it all the way. So that was, you always had to be twice as good to go half as far. So
Yeah, we saw that.
that's the over, and I'm sure that is going to be a common theme here with our panel.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw some of that with the female umpire debuting in the MLB this year. So
Oh, and I was so proud of Jen Powell for being there, because little fact, Lisa and I umpired Jen Powell back in 2000. I think it was one, if I'm correct, Lisa. Yep, 2001. She was catching for the US team, and we had the first Women's World Series, and we were umpiring there. And in the gold medal game, Lisa was on the plate and I was on first base, and Jen was catching for the US at the time. So, little connection there that we're proud to say that we knew her back when.
so cool. Okay, Sena, same question.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know if it might be a little bit of an ignorance, but I didn't really chalk up my not playing as much with my boys team as like, oh, they don't see me as great. I always just saw it as I'm just not as good as a player as everyone. So I mean, it goes in hand of having to work harder. But I think I just have that personality trait, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely not knowing, or at least not having as big of like not knowing and not having a clear path um with women's baseball up until I was like a teenager. Definitely, I think if I knew that, I would have probably pushed myself a little bit harder when I was a kid. I probably would have like strived for a little bit more. Um, but other than that, I mean, it sucks. Like it's still in a in progress, and it's still not where it should be, but it's slowly getting there. And it would have been great to have this like the league and stuff like that when I was a little bit younger. But I'm definitely happy that we're getting there now, and that people coming up and people younger girls coming to play have something to strive for that's more than just the national team, or that's more than just a World Cup to play at. But other than that, it's been just hard work, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. With playing at the levels that you play at, I can't imagine the hard work you put in. And not to mention doing a huge degree on top of your athletics. So, okay, Liz, over to you.
Yeah, I think there's a few different stages that I think I've gone through where there's been kind of a challenge to overcome. But I think that the most recent one for me, and kind of thinking about my time with MLB and with the Mets and thinking, okay, do I have any regrets or areas that I really want to work on? I think the biggest one was just being really confident in the rooms I'm in, because I think that there were times when I didn't present that way. And then also times too where I know like I would think that okay, if I brought up an idea or something, I had to have every justification, every scenario, and every detail fully planned out before even introducing a topic. But that's not how any of the men worked. They would kind of throw something out, there would be a discussion, and they'd move on. And so I think that by not doing that, I maybe at times not necessarily held myself back, but didn't always kind of give off that confidence and have that confidence in myself to kind of introduce an idea or something. Um, for the room to discuss. So I think that that's something that I've tried to work on a lot recently, and that's kind of this latest stage. I think when you're younger in your career, it's you need to learn a lot and kind of be very, listen a lot in meetings and everything. But once you have established yourself more, I think that goes on to the next challenge and the next thing to improve on. So. Like that's something because I noticed it in the last year. I started to do some TV, and then you're very much forced to throw out your opinion with thousands, if not more, people watching you. And so I think that by doing that, I was able to kind of gain that confidence and improve on myself in that way. So like Senna said, just kind of constant self-improvement, I think is always helpful at whatever stage of your career you're at.
Fantastic. Okay, Andrea, over to you.
Thank you. My experience is very different from Tosha and Sena's, in that I work in a corporate office environment, and we are so lucky to have an incredibly strong presence of incredible female women leaders in our organization. It's roughly 50-50 on the business side, and everyone's thoughts and ideas are equally respected and appreciated. And so it is a very welcoming environment. And I feel very fortunate to be able to come to work every day as myself and be who I am as a leader. What I would say is my experience is very similar to Liz's, in that my biggest obstacle comes from within, and that's my self-confidence. When I came to the Blue Jays, I wanted to have all the answers right away. And, in the baseball cycle, you need to go through spring training, opening day, Canada Day in our world, the All-Star game, postseason, the off season, and it really takes an entire cyclical year to really understand the baseball world. But I came in May, and I thought, oh, I'm going to have everything solved by September, the push for the postseason. And I had a team meeting one day, and I was really struggling. I couldn't figure out like how to structure my team. I couldn't figure out the accountabilities, the roles, responsibilities. And one of my team members, his name is Simon, he pulled me aside and he said afterwards, it's okay. You don't need to be perfect. And I felt this relief like come over me, and that I got permission to like, okay, let me figure this out. I now have time. And we have this saying in the Blue Jays, it's get better every day. And, you know, we're a sports culture. We work with elite athletes. So of course we're going to strive for perfection. But what Simon said to me that day really changed the way I embraced my new role and ultimately the way I led my team. And so that's one piece of advice that I got very early on when I joined here that I never forgot.
That's great. Thank you very much, everybody. Steph, back to you.
Okay, that was great. Thank you. So the next question number 2 is, what is one of your proudest achievements in your baseball career? And we're going to start with Liz.
So there's a few, but I think that even with things like, I was part of a 102 win season. I made the postseason twice with the Mets. I was able to achieve personal accomplishments. I truly do think that the biggest accomplishment of mine was having the chance to really establish MLB's foundation of girls baseball programming. When I started, they had run the Trailblazer Series program once, which is for younger girls to have a chance to kind of all come together and play baseball for a weekend. But from there, we were able to build onto Breakthrough Series, which is elite development for high school athletes, Elite Development Invitational, which is the same thing but for a larger group. The MLB Grit tour, which first it started as a showcase, which Sena was part of, but then it became an identification series across all of the US, and Canadian players have come down for that as well. And so being able to be part of establishing that foundation has allowed girls to see that MLB supports them and also comes to them in their cities and celebrates their success in baseball. So that's been really big. And those programs have been successful in getting some players in front of some really elite coaching, whether that's coaches from the major leagues, minor leagues, former professional players. It's been able to bring that to them. And we've also seen the results of it. Tons of girls have gone on to play men's collegiate baseball from those programs. And sorry to say, but Team USA, 19 of the 20 players have been involved in those programs in some way. A good handful on Team Canada as well. So it's been really cool to be a part of establishing that whole framework and program for the future of women's baseball.
That's awesome. I couldn't agree more. That's great. Thank you so much. Next, Andrea.
Yeah, that's very meaningful work, Liz. For me, I've had a lot of big wins in my career. I've been very lucky, but nothing compares to the magical postseason run we went through last season. But it's not for the reasons you might think. Don't get me wrong. I loved every single second of our postseason run, except for maybe the last 30 minutes. But I think back and there were so many highlights. Obviously winning, the champagne celebrations, watching the players hug each other on the field and then come off the field and hug their families. Our ballpark was shaking from all of the fan excitement. It was so magical. But my proudest moment, my career, was watching my communications team in action. A lot was made about the positive way the players and manager John Schneider showed up during the postseason. We had 800 media members in our building every single night. And on the biggest global stage, my communications team brought it every single night. And I want to take this opportunity to tell you who they are. Adam Felton, Simon Wells, Braden Zahn, Crystal Manuel, Madeline Davidson, Ashley Villarreal, and Shania Bremer. This is the best communication team in sports. And I'm so privileged to work with them every single day. We, after Game 7, after World Series Game 7, after the heartbreak, The players had all left the clubhouse, and we had a private moment, our team, together in the clubhouse. And just reflecting back on that, seeing them and thinking how far we had come together in the last 4 years was by far the best moment of my career.
That is incredible. It makes a huge difference when you have a fantastic team on top of having a fantastic team. Thank you so much
The
for
team
sharing.
behind the team. We have a great
Right?
team, a great team on the field, and an incredible, all-encompassing team off the field. Everyone from clubbies to our ushers to our game experience to the marketing folks to baseball ops, everybody pulling on the same rope for the 26 on the field to, make it to Game 7 of a World Series. So it was
It's so awesome.
very special for our organization.
Well, and now you're all just ready for the win this year. So it's
We're
okay.
heading to spring training soon, 1 week.
We're ready. We're ready. Next up, Sena.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some pretty cool experiences. I mean, just being a part of also a good amount of Team Canada teams and doing some good stuff with Team Quebec as well. But I'd say by far proudest moment would be probably winning bronze at the World Cup last year. And honestly, probably the World Cup just in general. I mean, we took Team Japan to extra innings, and that was probably one of the best, most fun games of my life I've ever played, if not the most fun. But also just playing in front of a home crowd, and also just performing and playing well in front of a home crowd. And I had my friends and family there too. I had my grandparents there, and it was just really awesome to not only just be on the field, but also play well and be proud of how I played for the team and for the country.
Congratulations again, and thank you so much. I think baseball is all about family. And so when you have your family to support you, it just makes it even sweeter, right? Yeah. Thanks, Sena. And last but definitely not least, Tosha.
Thank you. I have had a good deal of firsts that I'm just really proud of, but didn't get celebrated mainly because of the time. But the most recent one is being able to be on the field, umpiring the plate for the very first women's baseball game at the Canada Games. That was incredible. Sena says, having the home team playing that game and the crowd, there was over 2,000 people there. It was incredible. It was a great feeling. And I think one of the other things that is really cool for me is the lineup cards that I wrote on are in the Hall of Fame, right? They're in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and that is it means a lot to me. So that's a pretty big highlight.
I would definitely say so. I would definitely say so. Congrats for that. And thank you for sharing all of those firsts and inspiring women for generations to come. Lindsay, I
Thank
think
you.
you're up next, right?
Yes. Senna, I'm going to start with you on this one. So what advice or tips do you have for young women who may be hoping to pursue a future in baseball?
Yeah, kind of like I've been saying, I've always been a strong believer in hard work will beat talent any day of the week. Just getting just hard work, getting extra reps in whenever I can, doing the little things. It's so incredibly important because not only the top players, but most players won't even take the time to do that, and it'll set you apart, not only with your teammates but with your coaches. And yeah, also I think I will say a huge success has been the fact that I'm a pretty well-rounded athlete, being able to learn and be in situations and experiences from hockey and bringing that over to baseball and vice versa, I think is huge. I've been in a lot of high pressure situations in hockey games, and I've been able to use that experience to take to the World Cup and, play with that mentality of like pressure is privilege. And yeah, and now we have a little bit more to strive for. There's a league now coming up, and that's only going to get better and better and better. And so there's something to strive for. So just keep pushing and keep working hard to get there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Tosha, same question.
So, my advice to young umpires or young ball players or even young baseball executives that aspire to be like our great panel here is don't let them tell you you can't do it because you're a female or you're a girl. Women don't normally do that. So, that's old school thinking. Go for it. Give it your all. Like Sena says, talent and hard work, they go hand in hand, but hard work will beat talent. So, um, you know, just give it your all and don't let them tell you you can't.
Absolutely. Um, Andrea.
So my advice is more from a corporate setting as opposed to on the field. And I have three pieces of advice that I always tell people when they ask. One is find a mentor, someone willing to coach you, teach you the intangible things, someone who you can trust that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. The second one would be to raise your hand, take every opportunity to get involved, be open to learning, get out of your comfort zone and try new things. And the third one, especially in my area, communications or in that marketing realm, is to build relationships. So the baseball community is small. Network, ask for informational meetings. And I want to share a story with you. When I was at TSN, a young man by the name of Dan asked to meet with me because he wanted to ultimately get a job, but learn more about what I do. And I, told him from the onset, I do not have any openings at TSN. I'm not hiring. He said, that's okay. Let me just come in and talk with you. And so we had a great discussion. I was so impressed by this young man. He was curious. He was passionate. He asked all the right questions. And that desire was there. And so fast forward, I went on, left TSN. I went to the Vancouver 2010 Olympics and I was building my communications team. And I was hiring for a coordinator, a junior level. And I didn't post the role. I didn't hold any interviews. I remembered Dan from 2 years prior and I called him up and I said, would you like a job? And that is because he was so good at networking and keeping in touch with me and following up and following through. And I was so impressed. So don't give up. If you want something, go after it, build those relationships and keep going for it because it just may happen.
Brilliant. Liz, over to you.
Andrea, you took all my points. Like we're both in a front office. But I would say when you're young, especially make sure that you say yes to every opportunity that you are presented, even if it doesn't interest you right away. That is how I got into baseball operations from youth programs, is I decided to work essentially as a paralegal on a legal grievance, and that just snowballed, and then I ended up getting to work with a major league team. But in addition to that, be extremely curious about different areas and try to learn as much as you can. And that also involves asking people if you can be in certain rooms. For example, my first spring training, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, and I'm glad I wasn't afraid of it, but I asked Buck Showalter if I could sit in on his coaches' meetings every morning, and he said yes, if you're there every single morning. And so then I learned the most about baseball and coaching from him, and he became a close mentor and somebody who wanted to teach me, which leads into my third thing, which is when you see that somebody has taken interest in you and wants to help you and teach you and mentor you, make sure that you engage in that. It does not matter what their title is. It could be somebody who's in their first year of their career or somebody in their 40th year of their career. Just really take advantage of that. But also use your network so that when you do have to deal with crap that comes up as being a woman in baseball or a woman in a corporate environment, you have your people you can lean on and be completely open and honest with so that you can get their feedback and assistance when you do have to deal with things that nobody should have to deal with in these types of environments.
Fantastic. Thank you very much to you all. So that concludes the first part with the questions that we had prepared for you. So now we are going to open it up to everybody to submit some questions. I've seen a little bit going back and forth in the chat already. If you look down at the bottom of your Zoom screen, I'm on a laptop, so it might be different if you're on a phone, but there is a Q&A button there. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to type them into the Q&A. That's primarily where we're going to be looking for questions. So while everybody thinks about their questions and takes the time to type them in, we did get a question pre-submitted that we're going to start off with. So this came in from Adam, who asks, in Nova Scotia, we still see declining enrollment after or before the female 16U season. Provincial programs compete with community programs, and eventually baseball becomes too much commitment for continued success. Do you have any advice for community programs so that the social divide or social consequences are reduced? And as the second part to that, he asks, we've been told offer softball as an additional path. Do you agree? So Sena, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't know much about hockey operations and stuff like that. So, or sorry, baseball operations. So I can't speak too much on what to do with that. But no, I'm a firm believer that baseball and softball are not the same sport. It's not the same thing. Um, I don't think that's a viable option. It was never a viable option for myself. Um, that's just me being a big baseball fan, I guess. But it does, unfortunately, high level sports does take commitment. Um, I mean, I would have to drive a whole lot. I still have to drive a whole lot to go play games, to go practice and stuff like that. But I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it with the friendships that you create, the people you get to know, and just the memories that you get to create with those people, and just getting the experience of being in a playing in a high level sport. It's all worth it.
Andrea, did you want to take a swing at that question?
I'm not sure I have anything to contribute to this one.
That's okay.
So I will pass. And one of my
Okay.
things is it's okay to admit what you don't know. That was one of my points that I never said in the last thing. So yeah, I don't really know. I'm not so knowledgeable. So I will leave it to the others that have more insight than I do.
No worries. Tosha or Liz, would either of you guys like to take a stab at that one?
So sure. I think if they're just trying to supplement the baseball because there's not enough, or they're trying to like get them into umpiring. You learn the game, right? There's a lot to learn from the game as being an official that you can then apply as a player. There's been many times where coaches and players come back and say, after attending one of our umpire clinics and saying, wow, I didn't realize how much there is to know. And we get this with coaches when they expect umpires to know everything, and it's their first year of umpiring. Well, no, there's a lot to learn, and so that's why we gradually teach these young umpires, both adults and young people, slowly and get them into the game. So that might be an option, like umpire and play baseball, and get the most out of your game.
Great option. Liz, you want to wrap that one up at all?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll just say that I was happy to hear that it declines at 16 because when I was growing up, or even a few years ago, it declined at 12. So that's a nice show of improvement, even though it should not be an issue. But I think that overall, in baseball, the landscape right now is so focused on travel ball and elite play, which there's a lot of financial barriers to that too. So as much as communities can encourage and support house league ball so that anybody can play, that's helpful. Having co-ed house league ball is great. It's helpful. And again, I'll echo Sena, softball should never be seen as the alternative for baseball. If it's an addition, great, and people can choose what they want to do, but it is not a replacement.
Great answer. We have some great questions coming in on the Q&A. I liked this one a lot from Morgan. Given baseball and sports in general will require so many hours outside of the normal 9 to 5, how do you establish a good work-life balance? So, who would like to start on that one?
I'll start.
Go for it.
So, as an amateur umpire and amateur clinician, this is definitely a work-life balance, and you have to have the passion. And if you have that passion and that desire, you'll figure it out. And I know this is a very general answer, but you do. You work with it, and because it's not your 9 to 5. Right now, when we go to nationals as umpires, and I'm sure the players do the same thing, if they're working or coaches, that's your vacation time, right? So that's a bit of your work-life balance. Like part of your vacation becomes your passion and your hobby, and that's how I handle it.
Liz, you want to try that one?
Sure. I mean, I'll just be honest, if you're in a front office, you're in the office from 10 a.m. until midnight every day. So like you don't have a balance and you have to be okay with that. Like you have to love what you're doing and to be able to accept that. You have to make sacrifices, you have to miss weddings and birthdays and all that type of stuff, but you have to if that's the job that you want. And if it's not the job you want, then there are other avenues within baseball, and that's totally okay. So that's one thing to note, but also you will have friends in the game. My kind of girlfriend group in New York, everybody works in baseball or sports. And so we all also understand when during baseball season we can't see each other for several months. And then, it's the All-Star break and we get a day where we can see each other. So you all kind of understand your community. But again, there's a lot of different paths that you can take within baseball that does fit your work-life balance. But if you do choose to be in a front office, just know that you're going to be making sacrifices too.
Andrea, what do you think?
Yeah, Liz, our answers are very similar. It's about passion, it's about for love of the game. We call it a lifestyle here, not so much like work-life balance. It's a lifestyle and you choose it. What I would say from a leadership standpoint, though, I have two communications teams, one that is like business, which is more corporate communications, and one that is baseball. That's everything that happens on the field. So we are here 10 a.m. to midnight every single game. And we do travel with the team. And so from a leadership standpoint, what I do is I actually mandate my baseball communications team takes one day off every homestand. And we have enough people to backfill and cover off, and I staff it that way. But that way, I try and avoid burnout, because when you're traveling with the team and you're there every night, it's a lot. Even we do it for the love of the game, but it is a lot. The other thing I would say from a leadership standpoint is that the Blue Jays is a very welcoming and family-oriented organization. And we have a wonderful opportunity where we can invite our family to games. And so when we can't often be with our families outside of the ballpark, we have an opportunity to bring our families to our second home here at the ballpark. And it is very comforting to be able to go down for a couple innings and sit with my friends or my parents in the game, and all of our staff do that. And it's a luxury, and it is not taken for granted by any of the employees. It is a huge benefit that the Blue Jays organizations offer us. So we can't necessarily be with our families, but they can be with us.
Very cool. Sena.
Yeah, so definitely with school and stuff, it gets hard, but kind of dittoing everyone. It's you do what you love. You don't really work a day in your life, right? I've never really seen it as oh, I have to go to the rink, or oh, I have to go to the baseball field. I just feel like incredibly blessed every time I get to step out there and do what I love and do it with people that I enjoy being around. Yeah, I mean, there's times it gets harder for sure, and there's stretches that get a little bit tougher to get through, but having that love and that passion, and again, that sense of never being satisfied with just being good enough keeps me driving this whole time. I mean, uh in high school I remember I'd go from it'd be like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. high school, then I'd get off, do like a flag football practice with the school, go to from there to hockey practice, and then go from hockey practice to baseball practice. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I was beat after those days, but I just I kind of right now looking back at it, I'm like, oh, I wish I was back there. Those I love doing that. I love just being active and being able to do what I love.
Okay, great. Um, Andrea, I'm going to start this next question with you. So the question coming in from Erica is, do you believe that women in baseball should take up more space on social media, i.e., more active accounts, sharing feedback, networking, and so on? Do you want to talk about that?
I am not a very active on social media, so I might be the wrong person to lead this off. But I'm not sure if it's more or less. Because I'm not sure this is a man versus woman type issue. I think if you have news to share, you should share it regardless of any gender. So, I started in baseball 20 some odd years ago, and it's changed a lot. And granted, not my experience is not on the field, it is off the field, whether it's in like from reporting in the press box or whether it's in corporate offices. But I've seen a real shift over the years. The number of women in the clubhouse, the number of female reporters, the number of women in offices. And I can say that it has not, I have not witnessed an issue with regard to gender recently. Maybe that is the culture here at the Blue Jays, but it has not been an issue. So, but again, I come at it from a very different point of view. So, I'm not sure it's a man versus woman. I think it is just about just being a good colleague, leader, friend in whatever environment you're in, regardless of gender.
That's great. And it sounds like the Blue Jays have a phenomenal working group there. So that's really cool to hear.
Leadership stems from the top, and it's something that the culture has changed dramatically over the last while. And it's something that we have all embraced. And I may be a little biased, but it is a great place to come every day.
Oh, that's so cool to hear, Andrea. Liz or Tosha or Sena, would any of you like to take a swing at that one? And you don't have to.
I'll just say if you're a young professional going into it, just be really cautious about what you're actually posting. For example, like if you get an internship, don't do a day in the life at the facility. I'll just be direct about that. Like, just don't do that. You're going to end up accidentally sharing confidential information or something. So just be really careful. That's my very practical, targeted advice here.
No, that's that's fair. Sena or Tosha, anything you want to add to that? No?
I would just say I think what we see in social media is just women becoming more sports oriented. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And like Andrea said, I don't think it's male versus female. I think it's more who's becoming more vocal about what they like. And I think that's great.
Agreed. Okay. Uh, we are going to wrap it up on this last question here and then launch into a couple of very exciting things. This one is coming in. I don't have a name here with it, unfortunately, but I'm interested to hear your answers on this. So this question asks, are there areas in the game today where there are opportunities for women that might not have been there 10 to 20 years ago in coaching, sports science, baseball or business ops, and so on? Liz, do you want to start on that one?
Yeah, I'll give an example. So when I was with the Mets, the sports scientist who was focused on hitting was a woman, and she had a desk in the batting cage, and Francisco Lindor called her coach. So there are opportunities. It's you will have challenges getting into them, but there are women at every level of the game. I don't know an area where women have not gotten into the game. I think coaching was probably the last tough one to get into, but in 2018, Veronica Alvarez became a part-time coach with the A's, and since then the floodgates have opened, and there's several coaches, including, of course, the legend Ashley Stevenson with the Blue Jays, who I think we all look up to. So women are in every area, um, and yeah, there's nowhere where we can't be. It will be tough to get there. Again, I'm always honest about that. It will be tough to deal with certain dynamics and, have people who have maybe not worked with women before get used to you being there and the different um, kind of different needs, like even, where is the bathroom in the clubhouse, things like that. But women are in every area of the game now.
Awesome. Sena, you want to go on that one?
Yeah, I mean, from a player's perspective, kind of like I was saying, I mean, when I was younger, I didn't really know much. I didn't think there was much other than national team, and now it's growing even more to now, they're launching the WPBL. That's probably going to be picking up smoke in the next few years too. And yeah, I mean, I think our national team is great, and I love playing for our country. I think there's some steps that we have to take there, but making sure that we're growing the program and growing the game in our country. But yeah, there's tons of things that when I was younger wasn't necessarily there. And even when I was younger, like the MLB grid started, and now it's even bigger, and there's even more events all over. Um, there's a lot more places that players can now go and play, and so that's really cool to see.
Andrea, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I just would echo what Liz would said is that there's opportunities at every area, every level within a major league organization. What I would say is interesting on the Blue Jays, we have two women who travel with the team, and every major league club now has a female area for us in the clubhouse. And it wasn't like that 4 years ago when I started. But it's wonderful. And it's nice to see how the game has evolved.
Absolutely. I remember hearing that from Lisa last year about them having to make a special locker room for her. Tosha, last words to you.
I just like the others have said, there's probably not one single position that a woman cannot do in baseball now. And just go for it, right? If it makes you happy and it's your passion, go for it. And I want to commend the Blue Jays because when Lisa and I would go to the Rogers Center and try and change, and you'd see that there wasn't a section for women, and now we see that there is women's change rooms in there, and dedicated areas. That's really great to see, and Blue Jay fan, and it's great. We greatly appreciate it, and women we're here, and we can do anything.
Well, that's an awesome sentiment to end on. That is unfortunately all the questions we have time for this evening. But I've seen some really good answers going back and forth in the chat. So thank you to everybody who's responding as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Steph, who's going to do our first prize draw of the evening. And while she does that, I'm going to get somebody super special on camera with us as well.
Okay, well, that was so fantastic. I'm super inspired as always. And I don't know, Lindsay, did I introduce myself at the beginning? I was so excited that I don't know if I introduced
I
myself.
don't know. I'm
So
sorry.
it's possible I didn't. I'm Stephanie from Rawlings, Canada. I'm the marketing coordinator, and it has been a pleasure this evening to spend time with each and every one of you panelists and members and attendees. And we're going to do a little bit of a prize giveaway from Rawlings. And the winner tonight, and first I'll let you know what we're giving away. It's a $300 prize package from Rawlings. And instead of giving away a glove or a bat or something wonderful. The winner is going to be able to pick what they want from Rawlings. So if you were an umpire, we're going to give you an umpire package worth $300. Or if you are a player, we're going to give you a player's package. And so the winner is Holly Jean. Congratulations, Holly. And we'll be in touch with you and we'll get you exactly what you want. And we'll make it a prize that you will enjoy and love. And next up, I have the pleasure of introducing Sam Woj. Sam, we met a few months back, and it was because of the Blue Jays and all the incredible things that were going on. Sam is an incredible visual artist, and she has a giveaway tonight as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Sam.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, so I made a painting using a catcher's glove and a baseball of Mary Bonnie Baker. I wanted to do a painting of somebody who I found is incredible. I mean, she played for the All-Star American Girls Professional Baseball League, and I have a soft spot for catchers because I was a goalie, so I understand kind of in that dynamic of being kind of the last position of defense. So I was like, I'm gonna paint her. So I made a painting. And it was part of the giveaway. And it was Dory Turak that won. So,
nice, congrats. Thank you so much, Sam. Your work is incredible. And please, in the chat, Sam, throw in your Instagram account so everybody can follow you and see all of the incredible work that you do, and your art is phenomenal.
Yeah, Sam, thank you so very much for being with us tonight. And yeah, I see that incredible painting behind you. And I'm a little mad I can't win it. But yes, everybody should go and follow Sam. Her artwork is just incredible. Okay, so I'm going to pass it back over to Candy, who's going to wrap things up for us tonight. Thank you very much.
So thank you to everyone for attending. A huge special thanks to our guests. It's so interesting listening to your stories, your advice, your experiences. Huge thank you to our partners at Rawlings. It's been great getting to know you, Steph, and we really appreciate your support and your prizes. And to Samantha, that is just an amazing painting. I've just recently started following you, and you're super inspiring. So really appreciate your involvement with the hall. Thank you to all our guests who made a donation to the hall tonight. It's a huge help for our ongoing operations and enabling us to continue the work of preserving and sharing Canadian baseball history. If you enjoyed tonight's talk, we hope you'll consider donating if you haven't already. Many of you might already be members, but if you're not, I'd love you to consider buying a membership to the hall. It's a great deal. We have a ton of different price levels, but you can get a membership as cheap as $60 for a year. Some exciting things for us coming up at the Hall of Fame. March break is right around the corner. We are open for pre-booked tours. If you know of anyone or yourself that might be interested, please check out the information on the Hall of Fame website. We have a huge day for us tomorrow. Tomorrow is when we are doing our announcement for our class of 2026 inductees. So we really hope you'll follow us on socials. Lindsay's showing you a screen right now. 9 a.m. will be our announcement, and we're really excited to share this news. Induction this year for us is on Saturday, June 20th in St. Mary's. If you've never come to induction, and if it is at all possible, please consider attending. We have an absolutely beautiful town where the Hall of Fame is located, and induction is always just like such a fantastic weekend. Anything else that you'd like to know that's going on at the Hall of Fame, please follow us on our socials, and you can also sign up for our newsletter. Again, super big thanks to everyone. This was a really enjoyable evening.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being with us. And a massive thank you again to our panelists. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And yeah, we'll see you same time next year. Take care, everybody.
Good night.